Blood dripped from her sleeve as she limped through the dust-filled corridor, boots heavy with mud and pain. Her left arm hung awkwardly against her side, the bandage darkening with every step. The SEAL team at the far end of the hall barely looked up. One of them smirked. Another whispered something that made the others chuckle. They thought she was just another wounded grunt, one of the many broken soldiers evacuated from the front. None of them knew who she really was. None of them knew that within the next 10 minutes, every man in that room would be praying for her to return. Her name was Captain Leah Cross. The war had chewed through everything, cities, families, and the brave hearts who'd once believed they could change the tide. Leah had been part of a joint task force stationed deep in hostile territory, coordinating air support and rescue operations. She'd led missions that no one else had the courage to attempt. But after a mortar attack on their forward base 2 nights ago, she'd been listed as severely wounded and ordered to the rear for treatment. The SEALs at the outpost didn't know her face, only her name. To them, she was just a rumor, a ghost captain who supposedly saved dozens in the field before disappearing. She passed them without a word, her pale face half hidden under her helmet. The lead SEAL, Lieutenant Briggs, scoffed. "Guess they're sending the broken ones through now," he muttered. "Hope she doesn't slow the convoy down." Leah stopped. For a moment, she just stood there, still, silent. Then, without turning around, she said in a calm, rasped voice, "You'd be surprised what the broken ones can still do, Lieutenant." Briggs rolled his eyes, not realizing that every word she spoke would soon echo in his conscience. Moments later, alarms blared across the compound. A voice shouted through the radio, "Incoming convoy ambush, East Road. SEAL Team Bravo, move now." The team scrambled into position, grabbing rifles, checking gear, and loading up on the Humvee. Leah watched from the edge of the hangar, clutching her wounded arm. She knew that road. It was narrow, flanked by cliffs and dead ground. Perfect for an ambush. She'd warned command about it before the mortar hit their base. But now, no one was listening. Briggs noticed her standing there. "Don't even think about it, Captain," he said mockingly. "You're in no shape to fight. Get back to the med tent." She didn't respond. Within minutes, the SEAL convoy rolled out. Leah sat on a crate, staring after them, her mind racing. Something felt wrong. Too coordinated, too quiet. Then, the first explosion ripped through the air. The ground trembled. Black smoke rose beyond the ridge. Her pulse spiked. The radio on the crate beside her crackled with panicked voices. "We're pinned. Heavy fire from the East Ridge. Requesting immediate backup. We can't move. Multiple wounded." Leah didn't think. She just moved. Ignoring the pain screaming through her shoulder, she grabbed her rifle, an old, worn M4 she'd refused to replace, and slung it across her back. She tore the IV line from her arm and sprinted toward the hangar, where an abandoned ATV sat idling. The medics yelled for her to stop, but she was already gone. The dirt road to the ambush site was chaos, burning vehicles, deafening gunfire, the stench of cordite and smoke filling the air. Leah dropped low, assessing the battlefield. The SEALs were trapped between 2 ridges, under constant fire from elevated positions. She spotted Briggs, dragging one of his men to cover, his face pale with shock. Leah grabbed the radio clipped to her vest. "Bravo team, this is Captain Cross," she said, her voice firm. "Hold your position. I'm flanking the ridge." There was a pause, then a stammered reply. "Cross. Ma'am, you're still alive." "Alive enough," she said. "Now keep their heads down." She circled wide, climbing the rocks with her one good arm. Every pull sent waves of pain through her body, but she didn't stop. The enemy was dug in, 15, maybe 20 fighters, armed and waiting. Leah moved like a shadow, inching forward until she was above them. Then she did what she did best. The first burst of her rifle took down the spotter. The second hit the machine gunner who'd been pinning the SEALs. Confusion erupted among the attackers as Leah kept firing, shifting position after every shot. When her ammo ran low, she switched to grenades, her throws precise and deadly. Below, the SEALs seized the opening. Briggs rallied his team, charging up the slope. Within minutes, the firefight turned. Smoke, shouting, and the sharp crack of rifles filled the valley until the final echo faded. When it was over, Leah was sitting on the ridge, blood soaking her uniform, her rifle across her knees. Briggs climbed up, breathing hard, his face streaked with dirt and disbelief. "You," he started, voice trembling. "You saved us." Leah looked at him, exhausted but steady. "I told you," she whispered. Don't underestimate the broken ones. He dropped to a knee beside her, guilt etched deep into his eyes. Ma'am, I didn't know who you were. She gave a faint, tired smile. Now you do. The medevac arrived minutes later. As they lifted her onto the stretcher, the SEALs stood in silence, watching her with newfound respect. The woman they'd mocked had just risked her life, again, to save theirs. Back at the base, rumors spread fast. Some said she'd fought off 30 insurgents alone. Others said she'd crawled through the fire to drag the wounded out. But the truth was simpler, and greater. She hadn't done it for glory, or recognition, or revenge. She'd done it because no soldier, wounded or not, ever leaves their brothers behind. Weeks later, Briggs visited her in the recovery ward. He stood at her bedside, hat in hand. Captain Cross, he said quietly. We owe you everything. Leah looked at him with a soft, weary smile. Then remember this, Lieutenant. Respect isn't earned by medals or muscles. It's earned by heart. As he left, she gazed out the window at the setting sun. The pain in her arm was still there, but inside her, something else had healed, a quiet pride, the kind that comes from knowing she'd made a difference. The SEAL team never forgot her. And every time they saw a wounded soldier walk by, they stood a little straighter, remembering the day they learned what true strength looks like.